Welcome to Efficio's Transforming Public Procurement Microcast, where our goal is to make TPP changes more accessible to practitioners. I'm Andy Craig, and I'm with Ken Gaffney, a senior consultant in our public sector practice. Today, we're going to discuss the requirements for managing conflicts of interest, and Ken's going to talk to us about what that means for departments and for commercial leads and what they need to do in order to prepare. So, Ken, can you start out by summarising the requirements in relation to conflicts of interest?
Yeah, sure, Andy. I think first thing to say actually is that it's worth highlighting that there's a lot that's not changed from previous regulations. So what I mean by that is that the ultimate goal of doing a conflicts assessment is still the same. We still want to be producing a level playing field for suppliers, making sure no one has an unfair advantage or disadvantage. But the changes that we're seeing for the new Procurement Act really relate around formalizing the conflicts assessment process and putting the onus on commercial teams to publicly demonstrate that they've done one before doing their various notices throughout the procurement. It's worth also saying that the scope has been made clear that it's anyone that has an influence on the procurement that's required to do a conflict assessment, even up to ministers of state if necessary. And the third thing is that that there's clear guidance that if you cannot mitigate an unfair advantage for a certain supplier, that would be grounds for mandatory exclusion from the procurement.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So would you mind giving us your thoughts on what actions departments and commercial leads should be taking?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first step as a commercial team is making sure that you have a format that's agreed upon for conducting these assessments. So there needs to be a clear format, and I think it is also worth considering what mitigation routes would be applicable. So that would be ready to go at the start of a procurement. As you launch and you're doing your normal stakeholder mapping exercise, the second thing I would do is immediately try and work out who's in scope for the conflicts assessment, and make sure you bear in mind that this is a live document that would be kept up to date throughout the whole procurement life cycle. So as people come and go during a long procurement, make sure that you're continuing to do those assessments. And then the final thing I would be bearing in mind as a commercial team is that this content is all auditable. So the government commercial function have said this is something they may look into. So any decisions around mitigations, for example, I think it's really important to keep contemporaneous notes and make sure everything's clear and available should that need arise.
Thanks, Ken. I think that's really practical. I think that's really helpful. If you enjoyed this discussion and you want to add to the debate, please do so in the comments below. If you have any ideas for a topic that you'd like us to cover, then please reach out to Ken or myself. Thanks, everyone.